Sudanese novel History and Development, Leila Aboulela, 1964. River Spirit. This rich narrative can be regarded as a kind of literary document that recall important chapters of Sudanese history, reinterpreting them through the pen of a creative Sudanese novelist endowed with deep artistic sensitivity and profound human vision. The novel does more than recount historical events. It seeks to reconstruct historical memory by vividly portraying the social, religious, and political life of Sudan during two crucial periods: the end of Turco-Egyptian rule and the period of the Mahdist revolution led by Muhammad Ahmad al-Mahdi. Undoubtedly, the novel addresses a wide range of themes and complex historical and human issues, from questions of identity, freedom, and slavery to the social transformations experienced by Sudanese society during that turbulent period of its history. However, in this episode, I will focus on a specific theme within the novel, the Mahdist revolution and the differing attitudes toward it, as expressed through the voices and perspectives of the novel's characters. These characters reveal a diversity of viewpoints regarding the revolution, some seeing it as a movement of religious reform and national liberation, while others regard it with fear or reservation concerning its course and consequences. Through this presentation, we will reflect on how Leila Aboulela skillfully employs the art of fiction to recall major historical questions and how to allow her characters the space to express different perspectives on events that marked a significant turning point in Sudanese history. So the audience will come again and stay with us as we embark on this literary and historical journey through the world of River Spirit, discovering how literature and history meet in a unique and compelling narrative. Audience, it is my great pleasure welcoming you again to our fifth encounter with Leila Aboulela. We meet her today having her masterpiece, the historical novel River Spirit. So in River Spirit, as you listen, just my focus will be concentrated on the Mahdi state, as has been As has been covered in the story or in the novel, just the views toward the revolution, towards the Mahdi himself and his revolt against the Turks. So, River Spirit is a historical novel set in the Sudan of the 1880s during the final years of the Turco-Egyptian regime. It started from 1821 and ended in 1885. It is a time when violent slave raids still take place, even if the slave trade is less overt than in the past, and when heavy taxes are imposed on the population. The novel focuses on the years 1881 to 1884, the years of the rise of the self-proclaimed Mahdi, the Islamic savior, Muhammad Ahmad Abdullah in Sudan. This political religious development affects the lives of all the characters in the novel. Aboulela does not focus primarily on the historical events, but writes from the perspective and experiences of the characters in her novel, their thoughts and considerations, their views, reflections, and memories. The events of River Spirit begin in 1877, narrating the story of the young girl Kwani. After her father's death and the invasion of her village, a merchant from Khartoum named Yasin takes care of her and her younger brother, Bol. Yasin entrusts Akoni and her brother to his sister Halima after deciding to leave his father's trade and set off in a journey to Egypt to study at Al-Azhar. However, Yasin's sister quickly sells Akwani to the wife of the Turkish governor, Nadali. This marks the start of Akwani's long journey of enslavement and humiliation in the house of the Turkish governor and later with a social painter, Robert, until she eventually returns to live with Yasin, who is hiding from the persecution of the Mahdi and his followers after refusing to acknowledge him. River Spirit is narrated in 27 chapters, each from a fictional character's perspective. The characters' diverse voices reflect Sudanese people divisions and intersected loyalties, even within the same family, over the foreign rulers in Sudan, genuine Islamic values, and the identity of Muhammad Ahmad al-Mahdi ibn Abdullah. Muhammad Ahmad al-Mahdi was a charismatic Sudanese preacher who declares himself the expected Mahdi, mentioned in the prophetic sayings, to establish justice in the Muslim nation after Muslim rulers diverted from true ethical Islam. River Spirit novel explores the Mahdi's uprising through the lives of Musa, Rabha, Nafisa, and Yasin family, providing a broader perspective on the socio-economic context. It goes beyond the political narrative, revealing how the movement attracted both less educated, believing followers and marginalized Sudanese individuals, seeking validation and an ethical interpretation of Islam distinct from corrupt leadership. River Spirit novel is a notable departure from Aboulela's preceding novels, which primarily dealt with intricate psychological dimensions of religion by depicting politically unaffiliated spiritual female protagonists. Following this introduction about the novel under our presentation, The River Spirit, here just I would like to share the literary elements. The genre here we have novel, and by the way here I would like to tell The River Spirit in fact, originally has been written in English and has been translated into Arabic by the renowned Sudanese translator, Professor Badruddin al-Hashimi. About the characters, here we have major characters and we have minor ones. So about the major characters, here we have Akwani or Zamzam, and this is the central protagonist, an orphaned girl from South Sudan who is enslaved and sold multiple times. Yasin, a young merchant from Khartoum who tries to protect Akwani and her brother. Later, Yasin traveled to Egypt, joined Al-Azhar, and became a scholar. Paul, later Ishaq, Akwani's younger brother. Salha, Yasin's intelligent and educated wife. Fatima, Yasin's brother. Robert, Scottish artist and poet engineer who enslaves Zamzam to paint her. Musa, a disaffected follower of the Mahdi who becomes an enemy of Yasin. The Mahdi, real character by the way, famous Sudanese historical, religious and political leader. And we have other characters, that is Nadali, a woman who intersects with Akwani in captivity. Charles Gordon, another real historical British Scottish officer. Charles Gordon, the British Governor General of Sudan. Rabha, and one of the most notable Sudanese heroine, Sudanese women heroine. This heroine has very great contribution on the development and the continuity of the Mahdiya itself as the revolution. Setting, about the setting, the primary setting here in the novel, it is Sudan during the late 19th century, specifically in the city of Al-Ubaid and on the journey from there to Khartoum. These locations characterized by their arid desert landscape, the presence of the White Nile River and the oppressive atmosphere of war and captivity due to the Mahdi's uprising. In terms of setting, that is Sudan 19th century, and the events mainly has taken place inside the country, inside Sudan. That is because the story itself, the novel itself, recalls history to speak about very important, significant era throughout history of Sudan, and that is the Mahdiya state. The novel is a reflection to the stance from Mahdism itself, and we will encounter characters that support the revolution and stand with the notion of Mahdism, while some other views stand against the very same ideology or the revolution itself. About the theme, that is the central ideas or the thematic meanings, here we have in The River Spirit, which as a matter of fact has been published in 2023. About the theme, here we have a sweeping historical novel that reimagines the 19th century Sudanese Mahdist revolution through the eyes of the ordinary individual, centering on the harrowing experiences of a young orphan girl, Akwani, sold into slavery. The novel explores the complex intersection of faith, colonial resistance, and personal survival across multiple perspectives, focusing on the human cost of rather than just the politics of the conflict, Aboulela moves behind simple binaries, portraying the Mahdiya or the Mahdi supporters, opposing scholars and others with nonsense, examining how religious zeal can be both patriotic and reckless. The novel highlights the irony of a fight for freedom from British Egyptian rule, while slavery was still practiced internally, embodied by Ikhwani's journey through slavery. The novel is told through multiple voices, including Sudanese, British, and Ottoman loyalists. Amidst the war, the central love story between Ikhwani and Yasin, a merchant, acts as the thread of hope and humanity, highlighting the cost of survival. At first glance, River Spirit novel seems like a tale of political corruption. Through its everyday details, Aboulela shows how Sudan and South Sudan have been impacted by colonial forces, the Ottoman Empire, and the slave trade, but the novel is ultimately a love story. No matter how many times Ikhwani moves or is traded to different homes, she and Yasin always connect back with each other. About the plot, Here, I would like to tell, when Ikhwani and her brother Paul lost their parents in a village attack in South Sudan, they were taken in by a kind merchant named Yasin. He promises to take care of them, and this promise connects him to Ikhwani as they grow up. As a new leader, called the Mahdi, starts gaining power in Sudan and challenging the rule of the Ottomans, everyone has to decide which side they are on. So, from another side, the River Spirit marks a significant milestone as the inaugural Sudanese work in English, actively responding to and interacting with English literary and historical portrayals of the Mahdist uprising. This narrative predominantly painted Sudan through the singular perspective of the Mahdi and his followers, neglecting the complex and diverse identity of Sudanese leaders and their local culture. These influential English works played a pivotal role in shaping Western, specifically British, public opinion, ultimately influencing campaigns to occupy Sudan in 1899. Noteworthy examples among these British works are Rudolf Salatin Pasha autobiography, The Sword and the Fire, and the British film The Forefathers. So from another side, I would like to inform that I listened to the author, the novelist Leila Aboulela, speaking about her intention of recalling history, more specifically the Mahdi state. She informed that she would like to reflect the revolution state, the revolution itself, through a Sudanese pen, based on her readings to original Arabic texts that have been reflected on the Mahdi state itself. That is because the British have their own writings toward Mahdi and his state, a revolution from a side, and at the very same time they have their own perspective towards the revolution itself. And from this side, the author here, as I listened to her, she decided to do something different that is reflecting the real views based on the ordinary people and the common people debating the revolution and the stance from the Mahdi himself as a religious leader. Moreover, his own Mahdism. So as if here we have two images. The image of the Mahadism state as has been shown and as has been documented and recorded by the British writers and politicians from a side, and then we have another view that when in contrast to that view, and this time it has been expressed, as I told, through creative writing, literary texts. This literary text based on original Arabic views toward the revolution and the Mahadist state itself. Simply and in short, focusing on non-British sources, and that is Sudanese historians and scholars' views towards the state and the Mahadism in the final conclusion. Novel depicts the Mahdi's identity as a holy figure and a model of spiritual justice, a rectitude with charisma and social consciousness, and social conscious from his followers. Musa, for example, a foot soldier in the Mahdi army, says, the Mahdi, quoting from the original text, the novel, the Mahdi wanted us united as brothers, our bonds warmer than those of tribe or kin. Meanwhile, River Spirit novel presents contrasting perspective on the Mahdi, portraying him as both a righteous figure and an extremist. Seen through the character of Yasin and his dedicated wife Salha. Those opposing the Mahdi were labeled as infidels, justifying their mistreatment. In a similar situation to this, when ordinary people fleeing extremists, refugees, to quote, refugees feel overwhelmed. They came with the stories of tortured villages, stolen livestock, and youth running off to join the uprising. Through the lives of the characters, the novel outlines the time leading up to January 1885, death of British Army officer and administrator Charles Gordon, the capture of Khartoum by the Mahadist forces. But what is especially interesting in Aboulaila's novel takes the reader through her character into Sudanese ways of thinking, Sudanese values, and Sudanese religious considerations. The Muslim faith is very important in all of Aboulaila's work. In an interview in 2021, Aboulaila says about this, as a Muslim reading English literature, I find that it is infused with Christianity, and I see that, and maybe the Christian reader might take it for granted, but for me it really stands out, and so I want to put that the Muslim faith in my writing as being part of the stories I'm telling and the characters that I'm telling. And because of this, Aboulaila said in a session that discussed the novel that she is interested and intended to write this novel to be taken as a historical document. So I listened to her, moreover, that she informed that she has written not just a mere novel, or fiction. Rather, she considers her writing, her novel River Spirit, is historical document that provide opportunity to the younger generation to be acquainted with the Sudanese history. So the audience, I would like to reminding you that we are still with Leila Aboulela masterpiece, The River Spirit. And in The River Spirit, as you follow, here we have this historical document reflecting one of Sudan's significant and important period and era, and that is the Mahdi state. So the Mahdi state and the notion of Mahdism as well as Mahdi the leader has been debated inside this literary text. So here we have different views as we have started. Views as stand with the notion, with the leader, while another stand against the notion, against the leader. So here I would like to share parts of these differences. Salha, one of the major characters in the story, Salha articulates a profound skepticism, asserting that religion was merely an external facade, a potent tool of manipulation with powerful slogans aimed at enticing the poor and the illiterate masses. To quote her, but religion was only the outer shell, powerful slogans to attract the poor and the illiterate, shining rhetoric to wipe up support. The Mahdi was never the Mahdi, and this was a revolution happening under our noses, and not only a religious deviancy. That is the view of Salha, stand against the idea or stand against the notion of Mahdism and Mahdi the leader. Aboulela, genius in River Spirit, lies in the representation of two opposing sides of the revolution. On one side, we have Yassin, the merchant and jurist, who represents the rational side and refuses to acknowledge the legitimacy of the Mahdi. I'm not questioning his visions. They are his, but they are his alone. Dreams are not evidences. I would like to tell the audience in this particular context that when the Mahdi started his revolution, so government scholars have provided verdict that is tries to spread the propaganda of standing against the Mahdi and his Mahdism. And these types of scholars, by the way, they have taken their own studies in Al-Azhar, and then they became part of the government offices. They may have been taken as orthodox scholars, that is, have their own views on such matters like Mahadism. So our novelist Leila Aboulela has chosen Yasin to represent that types of scholars. On the other side of the image, here we have Musa. Musa is the embodiment of insecurity and low self-esteem. By the way, Musa stands with the idea, stands with the revolution within Mahdi. Aboulela provides the readers with not only a glimpse into, but a complete immersion into the world of blind faith. Musa idealizes the Mahdi and gives up everything for him. To quote him, "He deserves everything I possess. And what did I possess but this sinful body, this unruly mind, this life that pulsed within my heart?" Musa's words. The writer succeeds in convincingly describing the process through which believers such as Musa transform into the faithful followers of the self-proclaimed expected one. To quote him further, "The Mahdi was now my family and my home. I live for him and no one else. My wife and newborn daughter were indeed my responsibility, but they did not distract me from him." Yes, we are still traveling with Leila Aboulela novel River Spirit. So a River Spirit we have Rabha. By the way, the woman presence inside the novel, by the way, is so marvelous. And among those female, here we have inside the story and outside the context itself is Rabha. So Rabha al-Kinani is a very famous Sudanese woman that participated and contributed greatly on the Mahdi state or revolution in its earliest beginning. And here just I would like to share parts of the notes about her outside the context, and then going to take the novelist herself, novelist Leila Aboulela, providing feedback, providing the contribution of this lady inside the context or inside the literary text. So Rabha al-Kinani is regarded as one of the great heroines of Sudan. Her name is associated with a remarkable act of bravery that she carried out with rare courage and patriotism during a decisive moment that coincided with the early beginnings of the Mahdist revolution. At that time, Muhammad Ahmad al-Mahdi had left Abba Island with his followers and moved toward Kordofan, where they took refuge in the fortified area of Gadir in the Tagali Mountains, near the territory of the local ruler Adam Umdabalu. From there, the Mahdi planned to prepare carefully and securely for the continuation of the revolution for further confrontations with the forces of the colonial administration. After achieving an early victory over government troops led by Abu Saud Pasha in the first battle of the Mahadist uprising in Aba, when Rashid Bey Ayman, the governor of Fashoda, learned that the Mahdi and his followers had reached the Tagali Mountains, he set out on December 1881 with the heavily armed forces, intending to attack the Mahdi's camp at Gadir and eliminate the movement before it could grow stronger. Rashid Bey tried his utmost to keep the march of his troops secret so that he could launch a sudden and devastating surprise attack. However, Rabh al-Kinaniya happened to witness the movement of Rashid Bey and his army. She immediately ran on foot with all her strength for a very long distance until she reached the Mahdi camp at Gadir during the last third of the night of Thursday 16 Muharram 1899 Hijri, 28th of December 1881. This account is recorded by Naim Shugair in his well-known historical work Tarikh al-Sudan al-Qadim wal-Hadith. She informed the Mahdi of Rashid Bey plan and the approaching army. Thanks to her warning, the Mahdi and his followers were able to prepare for the attack and set an ambush. They defeated Rashid Bey forces decisively, inflicting heavy losses and killing many of the enemy soldiers, including Rashid Bey himself. Rabh al-Kinaniya was therefore not merely a supporter of the resistance. She represented a powerful example of the Sudanese woman who did not hesitate to defend her homeland. For this reason, she became a symbol in Sudanese popular memory, and her name appears in historical narratives as one of the most prominent women who courageously resisted colonial rule. And no doubt, since the speech on the Mahdi estate, the Mahdis, then Rabha, the symbol of bravery, is present this literary text by Leila Aboulela. And here just I would like to provide the chance listening to the novelist herself reading the story of Rabha al-Kinani as part of her literary text. The river spirit.
And this is the first page, the prologue. The Nuba Mountains, December 1881. Rabha steps out of her hut, sets out to warn the Mahdi. The night is lit by a full yellow moon. She must not be seen by the soldiers surrounding the village. The governor of Fashoda is on the move, intent on annihilating the Mahdi once and for all. She must get to him first. Sounds of a shuffle, a pant. She turns to see the old hunting dog following her. She bends down, rummages on the ground, finds a mango stone and throws it at the dog. She picks up a chewed bit of sugarcane. It is still in her hand when she reaches the outskirts of the village. The vegetation thickens, and rising out of the shadows is a Shilluk warrior, posted to ensure that no one leaves the area. Certainly not before the planned surprise attack against the rebels. Spear in hand, muscular torso above his loincloth, the physique of a wrestler. She stiffens, drops a bit of sugarcane. Fight or run, fight or run. She reaches for her knife. She turns so that he can see her in full. Curves, breasts, glow of shoulder, long braids. She forces her body into limpness, hangs her long neck in submission. Hides her hand behind her back, palm tight over the knife. He approaches, first with caution, then the start of a swagger, makes low, soothing sounds, as if she were a skittish calf, lone antelope, stray prey. He must be near enough now to scent the sandalwood she uses in her hair to drench the smell of grease. She can see the decorative row of bead-like scarring across his forehead. He drops his spear. She waits a beat and aims down at his stomach. There is hardly any sound, apart from the thud of his body on the ground. She looks around, grabs his spear, and runs. Thank you.
Audience, we travel together with Leila Aboulela in her sixth novel, River Spirit, and just I have focused on parts of her contribution towards the Mahdi state, taking some examples of the views towards the stance from the Mahdis and Mahdi, those supporters and those opponents. We travel with her and just we quoted parts of the story. And what I would like to tell is that this historical document is so very important. And in this regard, I would like to tell once again that Leila Aboulela, like our late, the acclaimed internationally novelist Tayyib Saleh, their migration from Sudan has provided them the chance, the opportunity to recall history, to recall the Sudanese culture while they are far away from the country itself. By this, the audience, I come to the end of the episode, and before to wrap up, just here I would like to point out the sources that I have shared and quoted. A review of River Spirit by Leila Aboulela. The writer here is we have Olga Benjong, published article on December 4th, 2023. Another source here we have Aman Abdelrazak Al-Safi, her article Rewriting Sudan in Leila Aboulela's novel River Spirit, published on November 30, 2023. And then we have africanwords.com. But here we have Leila Aboulela, River Spirit, Rewriting the Footnotes of Sudanese Colonial History, published on 13th of April 2023. And then we have River Spirit, reviewed by Simi W, published at www Harvard or harvardreview.org book. And then we have Amani Abdelrazak Al-Safi, Muslim women's representation, religious identity and politics on River Spirit by Leila Aboulela. And then we have Jones Unbound, Journal of Critical Studies, published spring 2024. And then we have عبد المحمود أبو شامة من أبا إلى تصل هاي حروب حياة الإمام المهدي, published book in 1987. And finally we have ملامح مسيرة البطلة رابحة الكنانية, written by the diplomat Khalid Muhammad Farah and published on Sudan Nile, published on 23 of April 2015. By this, the audience, I come to the end of the episode till seeing you in another episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.